Hi everybody, Mrs. Farnes here, and I wanted to go over quickly the Cornell note-taking method with you regarding our research essay. Many of you have turned in the assignment and you've gotten your feedback already, but some of you are struggling with these steps, and I wanted to go over quickly what it needs to look like because some of you still aren't sure what you need to do and you might be not doing so well. So first of all, make sure you grab the Cornell Method Notes template that is provided for you in the course. Not sure where to find it? Log in, go to class content, find research essay resources. That's where you're going to find this template. Okay, download this template and open it up so that you can use it. Once you have the sources of your information from your research, you're going to use this template to get started. Okay, so I have one that I've already started right here on this page, and you can see that this left-hand column is meant for terms to remind me of what information might be. This right-hand column is the information that I'm looking for. So at this point, I would put in my student name if I replace that information, as you can see, from the template. In the template, it tells me to include the bibliographic citation for using EasyBib to help me. This particular citation right now is from an Encyclopedia Britannica on King Alfred, and I've replaced that notation with the actual MLA format. Where do I get that? Well, I used EasyBib. Let's take a look. Here's my website search. Here's the actual article. I got it from Encyclopedia Britannica. This is Alfred, King of Wessex. It was written by Dorothy Whitelock, and it has information. I've taken this first paragraph as a quote, and I've taken that picture as a quote, something to use maybe as a title in my title page. And a really cool thing about this particular website, it does say cite. I can click cite there and it'll give me a breakdown of the information for this article that I can use in EasyBib if I need to search it out. Once I go over to EasyBib, I put in the link and I went through the steps and it gave me that information. I highlighted it, I right-clicked copy, and I went over and I pasted it. The other thing I did for myself is I did a quotation, made sure there was quotation marks around it, and I put a little notation in the left-hand column, quote about King Alfred. I also gave myself information on the in-text citation. How would I give credit to this source within the essay? I wanted to put it directly after this quote because I need to make sure it's there. So I highlighted it for myself. So I would have my eye brought the attention to and put a notation that to use that citation as a reference within the essay when using the source. You can do that for yourself so you know. Remember, when you are writing the MLA information and you've used EasyBib to help you, this first piece of information, whether it's the author's last name, if I didn't have an author, maybe it was the title, you use the next piece of information. So if I don't have an author but I have the title, I would use this piece right here, and that would be my in-text citation. And I left the picture there because I want to maybe use that for the title page. And when I use this picture, I know I can put this notation after it, and it's from the same source. It's on the same website page. So that's really cool. Okay, so that's what you do with the right-hand column. You put in notations, quotes, paraphrases, summaries, any information you plan to use from that source. What's really cool is this right-hand column, think of it as the old style of note card. Remember doing those old 4x6 note cards in your past research projects? Instead of having all these note cards scattered everywhere, you're going to write that information in this right-hand column. Instead of writing on the back side of that note card a notation, you're going to put that in the left-hand column. So that's why I like to use the Cornell note-taking method. It puts all the information in one place for the same source. Okay, so just remember the really key detail is only one source per page. Many of you were cramming all three of your sources into one template, and you were jumbling up all your quotes and information in one side, and you can't do that because then you don't know when you go to write your research essay and say I'm going to use this quote but I have three sources up here. Which source does it come from? I have to make sure that I only use one source per page. Okay, and that's what you're turning in is 3 pages of notes, 1 page per source. Okay, many of you are mixing up those directions. So and you get 20 points per page. Okay, that's why it's worth 60 points. 3 sources, 1 page per source. Do the math. It's 1 page, 3 pages total. Also, summary. Don't have a lot of blank spaces in here. Just hit the backspace. Okay, hit the backspace and try and keep it to 1 page so you don't have a lot of space in there. You can bring it together. And then you can also combine the pages all in one document if you want to. You can certainly do that. But make sure you have saved your document. Once I'm finished with this particular source, I also gave a little summary of what kind of source it is, and then I've completed it. Again, pretend that I have completely filled this page with paraphrases, quotes, summaries. Maybe there's a definition that I don't know. I need to put that in there and put my notations in. I have filled this page with information. I've saved it. Then I go on to my next source. Sometimes you might have a lot of information and you'll go on to a second or a third page, and that's okay. You can do that. All right, just make sure that you give notations when you're paraphrasing and summarizing your ideas. Now, I do have another source that's really cool. I went to King Alfred and I went to the lily.org database, and I did a search for King Alfred the Great, and I found this wonderful results. I found this article. It's a reference source. It's considered a print source. I'm going to click on this HTML full text. And what's really cool is here's an article, great information on King Alfred. I want to use a bunch of it, so I'm going to use this source. I'm going to go over here to look at what's really cool in these tools. I'm going to click Cite. You want to record that MLA information first, so I'm going to go down and find MLA. It's already provided for me. I don't even have to use EasyBib. Woohoo! That's why I love Lily.org. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to right-click, copy. And I'm going to come over here. I have a new template. I'm going to replace that information with just the terms there, just the words. I'm going to make sure I put my name there. Instead of note-taking column, maybe I have a quote I'm going to use from there. I'm going to close that. I'm going to use information on his early life. He was the youngest son of King Aethelwulf. He was sent in 1853 to Rome, where the Pope gave him the title of Roman consul. Okay, so this is great information here. I want to use this as a quote in my particular essay. Again, I just want the text. Put quotation marks around it because I remind myself it's a quote. I'm going to jot down a term. It's a quote about early life. And I don't want to forget, maybe the first thing I want to record is the in-text citation. So I'm going to put that first. Give myself some space here. And my in-text citation for this one is the title of the article, because there's no author in this case, so I'm just going to use that and give myself a notation. Use this as the in-text citation for the essay. And give myself that note, and I'm going to highlight it. Maybe I don't want yellow on this one because I want to separate it in my mind. I'm going to use blue. Okay, however it works, this right hand area is where you get creative, put charts, graphs, pictures, quotes, paraphrases, anything that you would have originally written on a note card, anything that in your research past that you have copy pasted from the website or from a book or Google. Okay, anything that you would normally copy paste or want to rewrite and use for yourself, you're going to put in this right hand column, and you're going to give a notation about it. You're going to give yourself a little note. What does this mean? What is it about? And then that way, when you go on to the step of making your formal outline, you have this information all together, separated out by its source, so you can remember where you got that information. Okay, so those are some tips on how to write your Cornell notes. Make sure you have 3 of these, okay? I've shown you how to do 2. Make sure you have 3. If you don't know if there's an author or a title, let me show you what you can do. So I do have one last source. I have this BBC article. It comes from, it's Alfred the Great, BBC News. There's no author, there's no other information. I'm going to take that web URL, I'm going to copy, I'm going to go to EasyBib because that's the easiest to use. I'm going to paste, put that inside it. It's going to ask me, is this what you're looking for? Yep, that's the one I'm looking for. I'm going to cite it. It will tell me ahead of time what they have found and what I need to go find. I already know I've done some digging. I don't have a date it was published and I don't have any authors. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to the final step. It's going to highlight for me, oh, the contributors. Well, I don't have an author. I don't know. I don't know when it was published. It's not telling me. And so I'm going to just make sure that my display URL is on. I want to make sure that that web link is in my information, and then I'm going to create the citation. And final step, here we go. It creates it for me. I'm going to just highlight that information with my cursor. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go over to my template. Okay, maybe I have a new template. I'm going to start a new one. And I'm going to put that in there. Okay, and I'm going to remind myself what the new citation is. It's BBC. Remember, if I'm using a title and I don't have an author, I just have to use the first 3 to 4 words. I'm going to put history and Alfred. And I'm going to highlight it with a different color so I know for myself that this is a different source, and when I save it, it's different. So this one's going to be green. Okay, so you can do this for yourself or not. That's up to you, but it's just a little tip. I might have a quote in here, some information. I'm going to go back over to this article. And maybe there's information in this BBC article that I'm unsure of. Ooh, I like this quote right here. It's on his military success, education reforms. I'm going to come back over here. I like that quote. And I'm going to make sure that I just copy the text. I don't need to put it in italics or anything like that, but I'm going to put quote about education and military. And I want that information there. So make sure that your notations on this side stay as consistent as you can. This helps you to develop what ideas are being copied from one source to another, and makes sure that you can put in notations that helps remind you. If maybe it's a definition, it's a word you don't know, I'm going to put definition here, and then I'm going to put the term and its definition, okay, in the right-hand column. So again, right-hand column is the information you're seeking. Left-hand column is a notation of that information. Okay, source information, make sure that top column on the right, that very first one after your name, is the MLA citation. And you're only using one source per page. Okay, one source per page. Don't cram them all together. Then when I turn in this assignment, I'm going to make sure that each of my sources are complete. I have filled at least a page. I've given a brief summary of that source and what it's for, how I would use it in my essay, that kind of summary. And then I'm going to turn that in. The next step would then be to take this information that I have saved in my Cornell notes, and I'm going to organize that information into the formal outline. And I have given other tutorials on that in the course, so please use that to help guide you if you're unsure how to do a formal outline. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial on how to do the Cornell method, and if you do have further questions, please feel free to send me an email or give me a call. Have a great day.